Let's start this over. I don't want to say my special friend. That sounds stupid.
My bestest friend in the whole
special
world.
Friend. Yeah. Okay. Take 2.
Hip here, coming to you with another edition of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. And on tonight's episode, we're just bullshitting with Riley Smith. Who is Riley Smith, you ask? The other co-founder of Evergreen Educational and Invitational. Amazing show. A lot of knowledge on what goes into conventions and the fires that have to be put out that we don't even see. So a little bit of behind the scenes and just bullshitting in general. So without any more from me, tune in for this amazing episode.
Welcome to another episode of Tattoo Guardians podcast. I am one of your 3 hosts, Joshua Carlton. We're here with Hip as well as Mr. Matt Clemmer, and I'm super excited to welcome one of my best friends, Mr. Riley Smith. Thanks, guys. How you doing, Riley?
Yeah, Riley.
Thanks, Josh, Matt, Hip.
Yes.
Man, it's so good to have you on here finally, brother. We've been talking about you, and today's the day. That's awesome.
I feel like it's a mini Evergreen. We get all
Man.
be together finally again. You know what I mean?
Let's start flipping shit.
Here we go. I'm going to flip some stuff over, guys.
Fucking perfect.
I know.
Yeah, man. I've been, I was lucky enough when I moved here. I've been here for like 10 years now, and I was lucky enough to meet Riley's wife, Erin, first. I was fortunate to tattoo her when I first moved here, and Riley came in, and I got to meet him, and we kind of just clicked pretty much right away. You know what I mean? We thought a lot of the same way, and long story short, for those that don't know, Riley and I do put on the Evergreen Tattoo Convention together, but we'll get a little deeper into that later. But yeah, we're stoked to have you here, man. And even though, we're in the same town now because of all this COVID bullshit and everything, we don't get to see each other a whole heck of a lot.
No, we don't.
And I get to see, some business meeting dinners and stuff like that. So I finally got my second vaccine, so I'm hoping that we can start actually having a little bit of normal life again, for sure.
I'm so busy with my lifestyle. You're so busy with yours, and we
Right.
do so much stuff. It's funny that I think we're good enough friends. We don't have to spend a lot of time.
Sure. Yeah, we can always
You know what I
reconnect
mean?
like it's, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We always talked about that. Like the time we do spend is really quality time. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, Riley, how long have you been tattooing now?
all day, man.
All day.
I
that reminds
started
me-
tattooing in 2008. 2006. Yeah.
2006. Awesome. And you own Lifetime Tattoos as well as Queen Bee Tattoo.
Yeah, me and my wife, we own Lifetime Tattoos in Queen Bee. I bought Lifetime Tattoos from this guy. He started that shop in 1969 when he got out of Vietnam.
Holy shit.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. See, I love some history.
We bought it
like
and took
that.
it over.
Right.
So
That's so
it's
cool
a
just to have that tattoo.
pretty old street shop.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's fantastic, man.
And for
That's
our listeners,
fantastic.
what town, city, and state are you boys talking about right now?
Springfield, Oregon.
Okay.
Yep. Home of
Now,
the best football team in the world.
I've always wondered this, Riley, is, I've always heard like that's where The Simpsons is basically supposed to really be. Is that true?
That's true.
That is true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah. Yeah, because
Wow.
I remember, right? That's pretty cool, right, guys? Like that's the real fucking, here's what's funny is that I lived in Shelbyville, Indiana before I moved here. So that's the rivals, the Shelby villains, remember? So from Shelby, now although I live in Eugene, which is right next to Springfield, though, I thought it was pretty ironic. You know what I mean? So technically, I'm the enemy.
There was a huge
funny.
controversy for years with which is the real Springfield, and they had this thing, and Matt Goring went to the University of Oregon.
Nice.
And when you take a map of Springfield and you lay it out, it's about the same as a map of the Springfield in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've got murals and stuff all
Yeah,
over.
I've seen like the
Tavern.
statue. There's actual like statue things of Simpsons characters and stuff like that. So yeah, Moe's Tavern is actually in Springfield. You know what I mean? So
Really?
yeah,
The university has like this Jebediah Smith or something as a mascot. It has this like frontier guy, and that same statue is over at the University of Oregon. When you go into the town of Springfield in the cartoon, there's a guy on a horse with a sword. We've got a guy on a horse with a sword. So,
that's right. I never thought about that. That's fucking cool, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right
So there you
downtown.
go.
Springfield's like known for like three things, like lumber mills, Ken Kesey, the author and the movie producer, and The Simpsons. Ken Kesey lives here.
Yeah, are you guys familiar, Matt and Hip, with Ken Kesey?
No.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh.
Yeah, he did Once a Great Notion, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He did
major author.
He did the electric Kool-Aid experiment where they all got in a bus and went across the country eating LSD or whatever it was. Yeah, the Merry Pranksters, right?
Wow. Yeah, like not a small time author, like major. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool history,
yeah, pretty
actually.
Neat. Yeah, I love Springfield. I've lived here my whole life. I was born here, raised here. Wow. Yeah.
So Matt, you met Riley at Evergreen, correct?
I did. I really did. Right. And of course, Hip told me about him or paint. It's always fun when one of your dudes who you love, paints a picture of someone else. I'm sure a picture of me was painted to you guys and you, Riley, at the same time. And so everything Hip said about Riley was not only true. I was impressed immediately, not only with just how cool Riley was right off the rip, but how cool you were to me. And how welcoming, because it was my first time at the Evergreen show.
Right.
And Riley, invited me to walk around and kick it with him basically all day on day one. And I felt privileged to do that and honored just to get out back, even on, like, we're staying outside rapping, getting to know one another, getting to know your heart, business, all that. It was an honor, and I felt real privileged, man. You guys made me feel like family immediately. And I don't know if a lot of that had to do with the work Hip did in front of me or not, but I'm thankful.
The thing about Riley that we're speaking, the truth on here is one of the reasons, in past episodes, we've talked a lot about finding who you really are and being your true self. Riley has no problem with that. Riley is very much who he is from day one that I met him to today. So, that wasn't some sort of lead up that Hip had to work on. That's the thing is when you meet Riley and he's going to be who he is, because he's very genuine. You know what I mean? That's why he's become, I say one of my best friends. Honestly, Riley's my best friend. You know what I mean? He's not just a business partner. He's very, very real. There's very, very few people. I might have 50,000 followers on Instagram, but Riley's going to fucking be there when I say, man, I really need a fucking chair to sleep in because of my surgery. Riley was at my fucking house in 30 minutes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can, to talk about the measurement, not to get cheesy here, but the measurement of a real friend. Like, the very few, Riley, we've got some pretty serious history. You know what I mean? And, we talk about that, it's like, who would really do something for you? You know what I'm saying? So, it's rare. It's rare, especially when you don't meet somebody like in high school. It's as an adult, it's tough, right? You know what I mean? So,
but it's interesting because you and I, we've danced with the devil many times and experienced things that nobody would ever even comprehend.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that people don't know that we've been through.
They don't have any clue. Yeah,
right.
And they won't. You're not telling them.
Right.
But it's interesting. You run across people once in a while, and I feel the same way. Like I've called Josh in many moments of desperation and been like, okay, I need some help, brother. And that's really hard for me to ask for help from anybody. I solve problems. So it's like, if I call you and I ask you for something or need something, like that means I really trust you because I don't come from that background,
And I like what you said too. Like that is a really good way to describe you solve problems. That's really a great way to say that for sure. Because when I first met Riley, he didn't know me and he didn't have to trust me, at all. And when we did start talking about putting on this tattoo convention, I was telling him, I'm going to get Paul Booth. I'm going to get these big names. And local people were like, that's bullshit. I know Paul Booth. Josh isn't going to do that. This guy's lying to you. He's going to rip you off. And Riley could have easily beat my ass and say, what the fuck are you doing to me? But he did trust me. And guess what? The magic happened. And all of the people that I said would be there were there. And they're there all the time. And, Evergreen's been great. But these people were trying so hard to throw darts at me. You know what I mean? And Riley had zero reason to trust in me. So I'm glad you did, man. And we're here today. So
true. Like so many people like naysayed and they tried to tear it apart before you started. I don't know if it was out of jealousy or just spite or what it was.
I was a newer guy in town.
I'm like, people don't usually call me and warn me about stuff. So when they do, I'm like, you obviously don't know me. I don't take warnings very fucking well. I just go right into it. I don't care.
Yeah. One of my favorite things.
But no, you go ahead, Rogan.
One of my favorite sayings that will really be harsh to somebody, but I fucking love it. Early on, Riley said to me, "They should have killed me yesterday," and I kind of live by that, man, because if Riley or me or really both of you guys, Matt and Hip, if we say we're going to do something, you better look the fuck out,
right?
Because it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I've always taken it that way of like, you know, if you should have stopped me yesterday, you know. Yeah. But the first time I heard that, I was like, that's kind of genius, man.
Thanks,
I really
man.
appreciate that, you know.
Well, if they would have killed me yesterday, they might have had a fighting chance.
Sure.
You know, now it's too late.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm one day smarter. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. Did you guys ever hear about how I met Hippy?
No,
Hey,
actually.
Yeah, no, it's a great story, and I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, so the first time I ever flown, well, first of all, a guy I used to work for was sharing a booth with Riley and Bobby, and I wasn't familiar with who they were. But I went out there. It was the first time I'd ever flown. It was the first time flying to a state where weed's legal. And, you know, our listeners know I'm in recovery. So, just the flying alone was a spiritual experience for me for the first time. And then we get there, and the dude I went with was like, "So what do you want to do while we're here?" And, you know, I was trying to connect with some other people in recovery. And to this gentleman, it just didn't sound like a fun time. So boom, we would go straight to the convention. And the first thing I do is meet Riley, and energetic and, you know, just brings you right in, and almost like I've known the dude my whole life. And we go out and we were smoking cigarettes, and he's just like asking me a little bit about myself. And I'm, you know, telling him about my recovery and everything. And sure enough, he's in recovery too. And then we start chatting it up, and we just connected. And like looking back now with some hindsight, you know, he played a part in saving my life and keeping me clean and sober through that experience. And from that birthed like a beautiful relationship, because the following year I did Evergreen for the first year, and then come out to his hometown and his territory, his wife, sweetheart, and, you know, acted like she's known me her whole life. All his coworkers, all the homies at Queen Bee and Lifetimer, the security at Evergreen are a bunch of people in recovery, and it was just like one big family off the rip, and I just felt so at home. And, you know, I got a lot of gratitude for that, man. I really do. Like, I don't know where I would be at today if I'd never linked up with you. And it's all like, you know, the universe is crazy because it takes a motherfucker from Oregon and a motherfucker from Ohio, and it puts them both in the center of the continent, and like they keep each other clean and like thrive off each other, and iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Well said, for sure.
Yep. That was an interesting show, because it was like, I remember I think we were smoking out there. We started talking, and I'm like, "You friend of Bill's?" I'm a friend of Bill's.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that was a tough show. Like, they had like booze carts going by, and everybody was.
Remember they had all the edibles. They had like a fucking like gourmet food that was all edible food, and like we walk up, and I'm like, "Well, what side's fucking weed and what side's not weed?" And like, it was obvious what side wasn't, because there was none of it left.
Right.
It's interesting. Wow. Like, I did shows and was in the business a long time before, you know, I got sober. And then when I did, like, my world got really small in that community, and it's a really tight community, you know. But it was like, man, I just remember that show was so tough, you know, because there was so much stuff flying around. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but for some reason, you know, you and I are kind of funny people. Like, we kind of dive into the problem. So I was like, I got a good idea. Let's go hang out at the bar tonight. We hung out at the bar.
Really?
We went to. That's how I deal with my. I went to the most vulnerable place I could go, to make myself stronger.
Yeah,
that's smart, actually. Yeah.
I just remember you and I were telling war stories and having a fun time, and we were laughing about shit that is really sick. And I remember some of the people around us were horrified at these stories we had.
Right.
that was just a Tuesday and Wednesday for you and me back in the day.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, because they couldn't, you guys don't even smoke weed, you don't even like drink beer at all, and we're like, no, and they're like, well, I don't understand that, and I'm like, well, stay around and you'll hear these stories and you'll understand why.
Right.
You'll be grateful that we don't do that.
Yeah, you better miss me if I'm drinking.
Man, I've always loved it because when we go to shows, even if it's brothers that are trying to show us a good time, impress us, whether they want to give us a VIP treatment, usually the offer for drugs and alcohol in the party is on the platter, trying to impress us. And I, in my experience, whenever I pass on something, people don't take that first like no thanks. They're going to try and push. And so I've always loved your comeback. Hip's first decline, he always says, when people are offering him anything, he says, oh, no thanks, but I'm highly allergic. And they're like, oh, for real? Right. And what do you tell them?
Yeah, I break out into handcuffs and felonies.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, they respect that. And like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. And it's just cool because like in this industry, it's just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And to have other people that you can associate with when you travel that can hold you accountable is very important. And like I just the first Evergreen sitting there and like the security dudes are coming up to me like, fuck, me and Jeremiah are fucking super tight now, we're ass friends. And it's like he was always like, you good, bro, you good? And then that spawned into us like going out to different meetups and shit after the convention to hang out with more people like we were. So I really appreciate it. Hell, the first night or the first year I was out there, the night before I left, Riley went over to this little store beside his Lifetimer and come back with a AA emblem for me, just to gift me, and I appreciated that, and I have that still to this day. And I also got me a couple of autographed ink, 1 ounce formula inks.
Oh wow!
Yep, I still got those sitting in my booth.
That's old school, awesome, man.
Right, I'm curious, like if I was to peel the label off those and put them in someone, like if it would still, because I think they're like 4 years expired.
Right.
It might make them. You never know.
Right. Meeting Hippy, I was like, you feel isolated out there when you go to do shows anyway. You're sober, and that's a foreign territory out there and everything. And just so nice. I was like, okay, I got this guy. He's got my back. We can talk. And I felt the same way. It was like we'd known each other forever. And it's interesting because the format in which we conduct ourselves is really you can kind of tell. It sounds weird, like if it's just like you and me, Josh. Like if we're standing somewhere, we're standing so we can watch each other's back. It doesn't matter.
Right.
If we're at a restaurant, we're in certain positions.
Yeah.
We can signal each other with a look about something going on around us. There's no question. It's very bizarre.
Yeah. There's definitely been times we've experienced at either our own show or other shows where we've communicated literally just with kind of like a nod or like a look. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Even times of like, let's get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, absolutely. I've got to the point now I can tell by a walk like what your mission is.
Right.
And I think that goes along with exhaustion too, because I drove truck before I got into tattooing. I know about exhaustion. I go days and weeks without sleep and alone. And I think the most exhaustion I've ever felt has been with Joshua. Like
sure, yeah.
Man,
when you're the first Evergreen,
forget it. Yeah, we were at like probably 100+ hours of no sleep and no drugs. Wow. And then the show started. Wow. Like it was terrible.
So like Matt and Hip, what you guys probably don't realize is that the first Evergreen did not go off without a hitch by any means.
No.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong at the same time, and including like the pipe and drape. They come in, they set up the pipe and drape, and they have to have a generator for electricity. Everything was wrong. They even though we paid for everything, they were doing other shows for other conventions and gave us basically the C crew. And they showed up and immediately just started eating pizza and stuff. So Riley and I and Jeremiah and these people, we just started doing the shit ourselves. Yeah, exactly. We started, Nikki and Aaron, everybody just pitched in I think we went home at like 4 o'clock in the fucking morning just to be there at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the shit still wasn't done.
Wow.
And then no electricity. And then the guy finally shows up and turns the generator on for 20 minutes. Power starts going out. People are already bitching. I mean, I'm like, I'm going to fucking have a heart attack. Like, and I don't even regret it, because honestly, it made us all better friends, and it made the rest of the shows so good because they run so smooth now and we really know what to do. But my God, man, I mean, only Riley and I and the people that were there understand how insane this was. It was, we really, we fucking stayed and tore down as well. You know what I mean? We set the show up. We tore down the show. The fucking fire department was like, "Oh, your stage is 2 inches too high. I know you just spent 6 hours building it. Guess what, motherfuckers? Tear it down and do it again."
That's right.
Yeah. Fuck.
There's. It's funny because going through that, like, I don't think I could ever go through that again. And I think every year, every time we do a show, we kind of meet up at the very end of it. We go, "Okay, dude, are we okay?" Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Because
we're gonna do this again, right?
Right. And like, everybody told me how hard this was to do, and it was incredibly hard, but it was a success. Not to brag, but right off the bat, no one really knew that. So it looked, no one knew the problems. They just saw a good show because we kept it together. But so then the next year, Riley and I like to walk and talk. We like to go for these, let's walk around the building and talk. And we were like, well, if it's a fluke, we'll know, because here we are, it's the second year, and we fucking did even better. So, because we thought maybe it was a fluke, maybe we got lucky, you know what I mean? But it just kept getting better, and we would listen to people, and we outgrew the venue, you know what I mean? And now we're at a bigger venue for more parking, and we bought another convention, so it worked, So like, we took a huge fucking gamble, and I didn't know at the time that Riley was the king of gambling. I didn't know that. We took this massive gamble. Right, exactly, the king of winning. And, it really wasn't until COVID fucking snatched that shit out of our hands, because, we do talk numbers and finances on here, Riley, so I think it's okay. But as soon as COVID hit, Riley and I lost $100,000 like that.
Damn.
We lost,
you know what I mean?
We lost $150,000 in a day.
Yeah, 150 in a day.
On a fucking Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, what lesson is life trying to teach me now? Oh, you also have cancer. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all these shit happen, you know what I mean? But we are planning on coming back stronger than ever. I know everybody's like hungry for these shows, and Evergreen is set for October, and man, I got to tell you, I haven't been more excited to do anything in a long fucking time. So you guys better fucking be there. You better be there. It's going to be amazing.
I love, just as much as the show, showing up like fucking 3 days before it and getting comfortable, and then coming in, Thursday and then Friday morning and like helping set up and putting water in Sharps containers. I just love doing that shit.
Yeah, you've been around and seen some of the backside of things, you know what I mean, for sure.
And I may have missed like the growing pains at the beginning, but it's just fun, dude. I enjoy it because it's like, it's always cool to be part of something that's more than you. So when you can come in like with the heart of a servant and just like give and just be there just to be there, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that was really the idea of Evergreen is, our motto was always to leave tattooing better than you found it. You know what I mean? And so you are 100% one of what Riley and I like to call the core people. We love everybody at the show, but there's a smaller group that you're a part of, and I know you know the rest with Jeremiah and stuff as well, that are like that core family people that we know we can rely on and count on, and Matt as well. And it's just nice, man. It's like, it really shows you who the real motherfuckers are, the ones that show up, not only show up early, not just to go hiking because, Oregon is beautiful, but they show up early on the floor. Hey, I'm not doing shit. Do you need some help? Because, yeah, we fucking do, So for me personally, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I find it different. Everybody at that show is so important to us. That's why we do it. A lot of people have different ideas of why we do this. Like, we want to make it better always, but it's funny, you talk about the core guys. It's the people that really, really, it's not like that's their favorite show. They really, really believe in what we're doing. And it's like, you talk about the early times, like, I think it's humbling for both me and Josh, some of the stuff that the show allows us to do. It's like, if you ever think like we're some kind of big shot promoters and rich guys, all you have to do is hang around at 11:30 on Sunday at Evergreen and watch us take the trash out.
Yeah, that blows people's minds.
Actually,
I had somebody literally write me the other day, and they're like, "Hey, you might not realize this, but I was at one of your conventions and I was tattooing a handicapped guy, and he goes, you walked straight into my booth and you actually offered me or my client, do you need anything? And he's like, I'll never forget that. And it's like, shit, that's such a small thing, but like, they're like, Riley's taking the owner of the convention's taking the trash out. Shit, we'll get you a sandwich. Like, we want you guys to be all the things, Riley and I have done hundreds of shows. We want you to be like all this shit that we were like, wouldn't it be nice if they took care of us? Well, what if we did that, right? Because it's one big tattoo shop, right? So Riley's tattoo shop, he's remodeling Lifetime right now. Doesn't Riley want his tattoo shop, his guys to be and his girls to be happy? Yeah. Evergreen is just one big tattoo shop for the weekend, so why wouldn't we go out of our way? It makes sense to us, but it unfortunately doesn't to everybody else,
Man.
There's it's a sense of pride, really. And Josh nailed it. That was part of like from the get-go, we were like, we should create a show that we want to go to. And we thought of all the stuff that we never liked about tattoo shows. We're like, we're not going to do that. We're going to change that. It's just the weird things that we did that I really didn't know how important that would be to other people. Like, I can't count how many shows I ever did where all you had was a little chicken sandwich place to eat. There wasn't a store. You couldn't get water. You couldn't get food. You couldn't get a fucking banana. You were just kind of stuck there, So it was like, well, let's worry about the food. And then, of course, Joshua was like, well, why don't we just buy all the food? Let's just cater it in. And
when you start breaking down numbers and stuff, and you're like, diminishing return, you're like, it's worth it. We'll have a VIP room if you've paid for a booth, and hey, here's this secret room that only artists can come into. What I mean? Here's some healthy choices that aren't full of weed.
So maybe,
maybe.
You talk about numbers. Like, what do you think our budget is for Red Bull for the artist?
Oh God, yeah, Red Bull alone, exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah. And,
I like
simple things like that, or like how about noise discipline? Like that's always been one that we always did. I hate being next to the guy that's blaring music, being a jerk. So we don't have it.
Just like counterproductive music. Like we love music as much as the next guy, but we provide a series of different forms of music, and we have no problem with people having music in their booth. But there's always somebody who's trying to give music to the entire show, and it always causes problems. Somebody's always complaining. It's always insanely loud. You know what I mean? So this sounds like a nitpicky thing, but when you experience it for 7 or 8 years straight, it does become a thing. You know what I mean? When so many artists, they're just trying to create, they want to do the best job they can do. You know what I mean?
It's interesting to me that it went from an idea that you and I had where we were kind of talking about how maybe shows should do this, or maybe it should be a little better, or maybe we could make it a little better.
Right.
But then once we got down the road a couple of shows, the reaction from the artists that came, they were either shocked at how great it was, or they were like, boy, it should be like this more. I wish it was more like this. Yeah. And it kind of starts self-policing itself.
Totally.
It really does. Like the core artists are looking out for the show and for the other artists, and all of a sudden, like me and Josh don't have to flip over tables or drag you outside, or
Right. And a good example of that, how appreciative people are is, do you remember when we had pins for the people who had been there since the beginning? And we, Riley and I walked around and handed out these pins. Was it 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah, so there's these people, and there was a lot of them that had been there from day one, supported us through everything. So we made these commemorative, is that how you say it? Commemorative pins. So, and it was kind of cool just walking around and saying, hey, when you got a minute, I'd like to give you this. And that little pin meant so much to those people. It would have meant the world to me as well if I was in the other position. So I think little details like that we recognize that you have been here from day one, and that means the fucking world to us. So little things like that. We would be nowhere. There'd be no Evergreen if it wasn't for these amazing tattoo artists. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And what's been really fucking cool, one of my proudest moments is, Riley and I decided, okay, yes, we want the big names. Of course, we want these guys. But what about the big names that are next? So we spent a lot of time, literally handpicking. You know what? I see something in this person. Like, yeah, their work is good. I see that one's a little rough, but don't you think? And man, from day one, some of these people are fucking superstars now. Yeah. And it is so cool to watch them grow. Like, Edgar Marquez is a good example. Always been incredible. Like he was very, very good. But we watched him turn into just the most, one of my favorite tattoo artists, Robbie Latos. Like wow, what an incredible artist. You know what I mean? And not that we discovered him, but we could see it. We knew. We were like, honestly, Hip. Hip was a great example.
Hippy's a great example.
Fantastic example of like, yeah, you're doing some really nice stuff. Now look at the work is fucking through the roof. You know what I mean? And we saw that shit years. I think we saw that shit before you saw it, Hip. You know what I mean? So
do you remember when we met Tyler Andrews?
Exactly, but another great example.
Yeah,
great example.
He was
sweetheart. Another kid behind the counter, and then we went to Dave & Buster's, and next thing you know, here he is.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's been really cool to watch these people. You know, Justine, just to watch these people who just fucking murdered it, and it was like we watched. It feels, as weird as it sounds, it feels like watching your kids grow up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's been cool. So, as you can tell, I'm super eager to get Evergreen back.
Dude.
I'm chomping at the bit. I can't. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who I have to kill. I don't care. I don't care.
Dude, I was bummed that 208 got moved to next year.
Yeah. We really thought a lot about that because Ohio in particular was kind of okay with whatever, and we were thinking about let's just do it. We can kind of base things off of it, and at the end of the day, you know, it's a decision for all four of us, and we just kind of felt like it wasn't quite the right time. Something felt a little off, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Idaho's Boise's an interesting place anyway. You know, and if they weren't doing other events, we shouldn't be starting it with ours. They're really not doing
that was what it came down.
And the health department is, you know, a little iffy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Man. So you guys said coming this October, it's on the bill.
Mm-hmm.
It's on.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Yeah, we're on. What are the dates there? So the 1st through the 3rd of October, we're doing it. And then we've got the educational we're doing the 3 days before that.
Okay.
You coming?
Is that an invite?
Yeah, I think we need to TP Jeremiah's house.
Okay, brother. Man.
Hey, I'll actually be there in August. I'm driving from Ohio to Eugene or Spring
right on.
to attend Jeremiah's wedding. So congratulations, Jeremiah and Thalassa.
I'll be there.
Well, yeah, nice.
That's
Ooh.
awesome.
Yeah, tonight's hey him.
Yeah.
Tonight's Jeremiah or Velas's birthday.
Tonight is?
Yeah, or Saturday's her birthday, but tonight we're going out with it.
That's right. Her birthday's the same day as my mom.
There you go. Don't forget to call her. You'll hurt her feelings.
Yep. I'll let Megan know if she hasn't already.
You know, if we haven't kind of put that out there already, kind of officially, like, you know, we couldn't do this without all the people that help us on this show. Like, there are so many people that volunteer their time to come and help us, and they give everything they've got. These are just regular people, you know, but it's amazing that bond that's happened. Like you mentioned, Jeremiah, it seems to come up quite a bit, you know, like
Right.
Jeremiah doesn't have time for that, but he does it because he believes in what we're doing. He believes in the people there, you know, and he's so hardcore. We wouldn't be able to function very well without, you know, all these different people and volunteers, and he organizes all the volunteers, and he gets these people that are just amazing. Like, you know, it's funny. Josh Drive-By came by and visited me the other day. He's the guy that drives the bus. He's the guy that shuttles the artist back and forth from the airport to the hotel.
Right.
Like, that's all he does for 3 days is drive these guys back and forth so they don't have to get a cab or an Uber. We got it, you know?
Right.
And he came by the other day, and it was funny because, you know, he's like he's this biker, you know? He's a big, scary biker guy. And, you know, here he is, like, spending this whole weekend making sure that you guys don't stand in the rain at the airport. I just can't believe that. I think it's so cool, you know, the community that brings out there.
Yeah, those are the little things like we talked about, like that people don't think about. Like, yeah, we could just tell everybody to get an Uber, but we do try our hardest. You know, like Riley and I have gone in the middle of the night to remember we went and picked Paul Booth up. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we try our hardest to just like, we try to make it just easier for you to come to our show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think shows have kind of picked up on that around the country too. I think they're starting, they're kind of raising it up a little bit. Not like we're, you know,
sure.
I always want to be super humble about it, but I'm really proud of our show. I think what we do is special, and I see a lot of guys kind of doing what we're doing, and I encourage it, man. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I just want to see.
It's only better for tattooing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So much you guys been talking about is beautiful, and you know it's the old cliche saying that like attracts like, right? But it's so true. even attracting guys like Hip into your life with the servant's heart. For all you listeners out there, most tattooers, it's big of enough responsibility in your life and your schedule to pack your bags and travel across the country just to make it to a show and then do what you do at a show, let alone to decide you're going to go out early on purpose just to see if you can be of service like our brother Hip here does. But that points to who you guys are, that you even attract people into your life like Hip and like Jeremiah, so many other folks, and it's a direct reflection on your hearts, and it's just amazing. Sit here, listen to this. I've watched it for years. I was also having a flashback the first time I met Joshua in the flesh, which was almost 15 years ago at a little show here in Dayton, Ohio. And I met Joshua, and the way Josh treated me when I was offering to assist him and take out his trash, like he acknowledged me, and it was like from one servant to another.
And you were an apprentice then.
I was an apprentice at the time. He was considered a god, and I knew immediately we're cut from the same cloth, just because of how Josh treated me and acknowledged me as an apprentice. And so the shit's real. I saw that in Josh years ago. Josh made me feel like special, like I was somebody, that I fucking mattered. And here we are years later, and what are you guys doing? Making everybody know that they matter and still looking for others. It's just beautiful. Yeah,
that's awesome. I appreciate you noticing that.
Yeah, man.
I didn't know you were an apprentice then. I probably would have spit on you. So
I'm sitting here feeling bad because I didn't know how rough the first show was for you guys. I was honored that, and again, the fact that Josh, you took time out, and it's the Evergreen Invitational. It was a big deal when Joshua Carlton himself invited me, right? And I was signed up for the very first one. And right before my plane, I got sick so bad. I was bedridden with the flu. And I was so bedridden. And it's like the day of the show. And God knows everything you got going on. And Josh is reaching out to me like, yo, Matt, where you at? I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm at home in bed, so sick. I felt terrible.
Off the list.
I know it. Yeah. And so I didn't get invited for years after. Thank God Hip's cool. I finally got my way back into shit.
Right. You're like, do you vouch for this dreadlock motherfucker?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And, you're talking about Heart of a Servant. The first year I was there, the pre-party was at some pizza joint. And I, busy fangirling. And it was my first encounter with Josh, and he's pouring me fucking more Coke in my cup, and my mind's just exploding. Followed by the next day, I got Cotterman to my right tattooing and a plethora of amazing artists all around me. And Josh comes in, asks me if I need to change my trash, and I'm like, what the fuck is even happening right now? Mm-hmm. So yeah, dude, how Matt was pointing out, just the way you're being attracts like. Yep. And it's just, I'm humbled to be able to attend the show every year. And not only that, but I look forward to it. And I may not have that many shows under my belt, but by far from all the ones I do, and this isn't the only educational I attend, but it is by far my favorite, and just the level of class that is brought to it. And, the artists are treated like the clients. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
And all the heavy hitters. You were right. In the beginning when you said, hey, I'm going to invite some of these heavy hitters, people are talking shit. No, you back that shit up. And to this day, even this past week, I was talking to a few artists throughout the country that have yet to be at your guys' at the Evergreen show, but it's on their radar. But they've all heard about it. Just when I brought that up, they're like, oh, for real? Yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone knows. If they haven't been, everyone's heard.
Yeah, it's it's become kind of a Leviathan. It's one of those things where we can only invite so many artists because we want to keep it. We may grow someday, but it's kind of a good number right now.
Yeah.
So we have these core people that have always come. So of course there's amazing artists out there that we would love to invite, but we have to be just ridiculously picky nowadays because we have such a few slots available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a
And,
it's always go ahead.
I think me and Josh have always talked about how we never want to dilute what we've created. It's so special.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, we've thought of the idea, and other people have encouraged us to do, like, why don't you do more evergreens? Why aren't there 5 of them or something? It's like, I don't know. I've just never really felt like that was anything I wanted to pursue.
Right.
It has to be like that.
How many? You said you only got a few slots left. You got to be selective, picky. But for those that haven't been, how many artists were at the last show?
I think there's about
100. How many artists do you think came, babe? 150? 150 booths, 300 artists?
So probably 300 artists,
About 300 artists in the room.
Damn.
Yeah, so to me, when I walk around, I feel like Evergreen feels big to me when I walk around the floor. Yeah. But people always say, "Oh, I like it. It's a smaller show." I guess you'd maybe call it a medium-sized show, but I like that.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to wrangle in at the size that it is. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I would say with the 150 booths, most having 2, I'd say right around 300 artists. So awesome. That goes quickly. You know what I mean? We're in a really fortunate position when we open up booth sales and stuff. They go very, very quickly. Yeah. So we'll meet somebody at another show and they're like, I'd love to come to your show. And they're amazing. And it's like, man, I really want this artist at the show, but I'm not going to boot out Tyler Andrews because of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we got to stay loyal to our people, of course. And we'll always forever, Yeah. But it's a trade-off. It really is a trade-off. It's still, it's still a business. Yeah. And we've got to, I had a guy approach me one time and there was some artists at our show and they're like, well, I'm better than that guy. And I'm like, that's a bold statement to say about anything or anyone. That's
I remember that day.
Yeah. I was kind of mad at that guy. I was like, you're cautious in your fucking tone, because that's a bold statement to say. You don't know that guy.
Right.
And what you're going to judge him solely based on this tattoo versus that tattoo, you're making a tremendous mistake in tattooing. Like, don't ever do that. Right. And I'm surprised by people that do that. That's like, I not putting Josh in a position, but there was a guy that came up to Josh one time and was like, I'm an award-winning artist. I want to know why I'm not in this show. And Josh had the best answer in the world. Josh was like, because of that right there.
Right.
That right there, you're out. You're gone. You're never coming. You're a jerk.
His approach was so off. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't even want you in the building, much less to work my show. You know what I mean? So we've had some crazy stories. We've had people that were not invited just show up and set up in a booth and didn't end well.
That didn't go well for them.
Speaking of table flipping,
didn't start well.
There was there were a couple times where people were like that, and I was always kind of I'm taken back by kind of the arrogance of it or whatever. I'm not like that, But it's always some weird reactionary thing for us. Like, I become so protective of it. Yeah. There was a guy that kind of he dissed something that was going on at the show, and I didn't think of it that way when I reacted. I kind of overreacted. I thought of him as the way he said it, the way he was acting, and what he was doing. He had just disrespected all of the artists in the room. Yeah. And it's a very strange thing. I think I feel very possessive over the show and the artists that are there. Every one of them, Yeah. And to diss one is to diss all, as far as I'm concerned. I get really angry about it. I'm just that's not fair.
Dude, I love that.
For sure.
I hear all these horror stories about Riley. And sometimes I just have trouble believing them because he is a fucking teddy bear. The Riley that I hear stories of is completely different from the man that I know.
Yeah. But still,
that's because you came at him the right way.
That's right.
That's
right. Man, I appreciate your heart having everyone's backs. You disrespect one of us, you just disrespected the whole house. I'm with you. I'm with you.
In a way, it kind of needs
to. That's how it should be.
Tattooing kind of needs that right now more than ever. It seems, I mean, not to get all deep and philosophical on you, but in a lot of ways, I feel that way about that. It's broken up. It's kind of shattered. It wasn't like that before. It was kind of all for one and one for all. Even the dirtbag got respect, and now it's just this weird shattered thing. It's so strange, and I don't know. It's changed a lot, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but Evergreen's been able to provide like a kind of a core value for the people that are there, and if you don't get it, it's because maybe you shouldn't be doing that or be there.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
we do run across guys once in a while that don't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know,
Totally. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even, you know, the funny thing is because we have these big names, you know, I'm not going to say names, but we've definitely had some artists that are very big names that did not get it and were very disrespectful to not only Riley and I, but even worse, honestly, to the floor guys, to the Jeremiahs, because they were like, you know, looking down on these peons kind of thing. And it was, and you know, and we don't stand for that at all.
No big eyes and little U's.
Yeah, you know, it's like, oh, well, he's really nice to me. Well, of course he's nice to you. You're Riley, and he fucking knows you own the show. But if he's not nice to Jeremiah, that tells me everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
actually, I get mad thinking about it, Josh. Like, you got me fired up.
Yeah.
I
I know,
get
you
really
know
angry
exactly what
about
I'm
that.
talking about. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what did you just say to the trash guy? Like, that
That's
guy's
right.
over here taking out your garbage and you're treating him
That's
bad.
right.
Like, that's somebody's brother. He
Sounds
doesn't
like
have to be here.
Sounds like a spot just freed up next year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know.
You know, because we're talking so much about this, like, I don't want everybody that's listening to think that it's only Riley and I. Like, we are extremely fortunate to have kind of like this magic. It was definitely lightning in a bottle. Like, you know, it's me, Riley, and you know, Aaron and my wife Nicole, and the way that the dynamics of it works is just so perfect because, you know, Riley and I are really big risk takers and we like to have what some people would call wild ideas. However, look how often they work out, Riley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Aaron and Nikki really kind of rein things in. And honestly, like Riley and I definitely, I don't want to say we're the face of the show, but without Aaron and Nikki, like I'll be honest, like it would not happen. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
No, we're not
they
smart
work.
enough to do that.
They take, yeah, right, exactly. They'll take like a week off after the show. So when people are like, what's it like to put on a show? I know you were asking, Hip. Nikki and Aaron will take a week off and they're back to it. So you're talking for a fucking year.
Wow.
They're ramping up to this. All this COVID time, we're just taking time to, how can we make it better? Everybody's going to expect the best show ever. We
right.
have to deliver. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, you know, I just want to make sure I put that out there, not to just get husband points, but for real, like, you know, they work incredibly fucking hard and they're there as early and as late, first in, last to leave. So,
and I got to be honest too, a lot of the reason why I come in early to help set up is because I know that I get my Nikki and Aaron time. While you guys are running around putting fires, I get to like flex my muscles and like,
right.
You know, hey, I'm helping out.
Right.
But yeah, dude, like they're sweethearts, and I know that behind any great man is a more powerful woman, and just like little shit. Like I've got both their numbers, and it'll be something as simple as like, I didn't hit the blue button at the bottom of the website, so like here I am messaging a couple weeks before the show, and bam, they get right back to me instantly, and I know that I'm one of hundreds of people asking their most stupid, ridiculous question, and never have they barked at me. They've always been patient and cool, and they're like, do it like this, Hip, just like last year. And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But what you're not seeing is as soon as she hangs up, the shit she talks about you afterwards. Every fucking
She's
year,
like, I
this
don't know how
dumb.
many years we have to do this with this guy.
Yeah.
I guess he's not getting invited back.
Yeah. Guess you can't figure the website out again. Yeah.
Can't make it any simpler.
Why is
The
he even
invite,
invited?
yeah, the invite thing is a funny one because, like, the only two artists that don't get invited is me and Josh. We don't get invited. We just show up.
Right.
And
Right.
Man.
You know, it's
Like-
funny because every year I do get people that are like, "Man, I can't wait to come to your show and get tattooed by you." And I'm like, I couldn't imagine tattooing at my own show. Like, I'm making sure the place doesn't fucking burn down, which it almost did. Most people don't know this.
Man.
It almost did burn down, huh, Riley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking huge fire in the back. We had guy cooking fucking steaks and shit. And one of the photographers comes in and he's like, "We kept it down. No one knows, but check this picture out. Fucking full on fire. The
The
tent was on
whole
fire,
kitchen's fried. Yeah.
and we kept it down. Nobody knew.
What
Nobody
year
knew
was
yet, so
this?
I think year 2,
Oh, okay.
maybe 3.
It's the second year. Yeah. We've had
Yeah.
every possible, like a plague of locusts could hit this thing. It really wouldn't surprise us. Me and Josh would be like, okay,
Yeah.
time to go to work. You know, like, we're really not surprised. Some stuff was pretty shocking though. Like something would happen and we'd step off and be like, wow, I haven't heard of that one
Yeah.
before.
Well, and also it would get to the point to where when things are really smooth, it's like when you have a kid and you're like, "It's awfully quiet. What's my kid doing in there?" When it's like just really smooth, Miley and I are both like, "Oh fuck,
Something's up.
something's
wrong."
And yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah.
Dude, the educational in Florida I went to, I remember like in the middle of like everybody getting critiqued when we were all sitting at different tables, your two kids, Josh, just started throwing the fuck down.
Like straight up brawling. Like, yeah, I remember someone was like, "Your kids are fighting," and I'm like, "They do that," and I'm like, "No, they're punching each other in the face." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You have no idea how anxious a child is when you go, "Okay, just give me 3 days and then I'll take you to Disneyland." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm trying to have lunch with Yogi Berra and you're punching each other in the face.
Right. That was a fun show, wasn't it, Josh?
That was a fun show. That was fun.
Remember the alligators? They were everywhere.
Man, there were so many alligators. It was
They were
ridiculous.
everywhere,
I thought you
man.
guys were. I thought people were joking because we were right by the water, and they're like, "There's alligators," and I'm like, "Yeah." And I started seeing them popping up and shit. It was fucking crazy. Yeah.
You started
And
looking
then I
around.
found out.
Little
I found
slides
out
where-
later on that where we were at was where they filmed that movie, The Majestic. I think with Jim Carrey. I was like, "Oh, that's fucking pretty cool," you know.
Yeah, the Bohemian was very nice, wasn't it? And that was a tough show. Was that the first educational you went to, Hip?
This was the one in Florida?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
that was a fun.
Yeah.
One.
So our first one was in Hollywood, which I thought was awesome. Florida was a little tough, and then we kind of wised up and we were like, I think we used Google as an idea, like how when you go to Google, it's just so simple. It's like you see Google and you just type in what you're searching for. And it's not cluttered with a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I understand that we're catering and we're getting the best hotel, but really these people ultimately just want to learn. And when you're at a convention working, you're like, man, I want to take this seminar from Paul Booth, but I have to tattoo. And so we decided, because the educationals were separate completely. And we were like, why don't we just sandwich them together? Riley has this beautiful shop that literally has a stage in it already.
Literally.
What if for a couple days before we just did we're still going to give you some nice food and everything, but we don't have to give you such incredible stuff. And I think it's worked out way better. It's just way more intimate. The times we've done it, I felt like even though Hollywood was amazing to be in Hollywood, having it at the shop, I think was a smart move,
Yeah.
So you guys are doing the educational beforehand again, just like last year? But back?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, everybody can go that way that's invited, that's invited to go. You don't have to stress. And what we find happens is you get pumped up. You got 2 days of learning some new shit that you can't wait to fucking try out. And now you have 3 days at this show to do this new stuff. And, I would like to see more shows put that on, because I know that when I've taught at other tattoo conventions, it's always in the middle of the day and people are like, man, I want to go so bad, but I want to do this portrait too, so they have to pick.
You're right.
Yeah, and it's almost like a win-win for everybody. The artists get some new tricks to pull out their sleeve at the convention, and you guys don't have to go and fucking drop a shitload of money to rent a place, because I've guest spotted at Queen Bee, and it's a fucking lovely shop, man. Like, I love that shop.
Yeah, but we're like, Riley was like, we've got the room, we've got it, and it was like, like Nico Hurtado came out and taught there, and one of his first things is he got up on stage and he's like, man, this shop is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, it's nice. I'm sure that's nice for them to hear. They put a lot of fucking work into it. You know what I mean? So
This is funny. Nico was like, I'm putting a stage in my shop. I've never seen a stage.
right, exactly. Yeah.
So, Riley, to confirm those dates for any of our listeners that would like to even apply to go this year to the educational, is this starting September 27th or 28th?
Josh,
You said
You're talking about
Miss Aaron says the 29th and the 30th.
okay, the 29th and the 30th is the educational right before your show on October 1st.
Yeah. So it would be Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday for the show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you guys
If they
have
wanna-
booked who's doing seminars yet?
That's all Joshua.
We're really hoping, pre-COVID we had a stellar lineup. With schedules and stuff. It's hard to say, you know what I mean? So at this point, I just shouldn't even speculate. I will give you my word that it will be worth it. Like, it's going to be amazing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the educational is an interesting thing that we kind of created a secret society, if you will. It's very private. It's very intimate how the educational works, and I love that about it. You know, it's not like a stock thing where the artist or featured guest is up there just kind of going through the motions. It's interactive, and people are talking back and forth, and I just love that part. It's just so great.
Sometimes there's actually tattooing. When Robbie Latos taught, he got up there and spoke, and then he did a tattoo in front of everybody. We've had some artists that have gone on to do tons of seminars, but we were there firsts. So it was really interesting to see these amazing tattooers get up on stage and like dry throat and nerves, you know what I mean? It's like, it was cool to like see this first time kind of thing, you know? It's not easy. It's not easy getting on that stage.
When Pooch went up there, he had like a whole system, and he just kind of chucked it. He just kind of chucked it right out the window because he was having so much fun with the back and forth, and that was it was very inspirational to see that. It was from the heart, you know?
And I think maybe your shop is conducive to that, because I remember Kyle Cotterman was saying the same thing. You know, he's like kind of showed up with this whole thing kind of laid out, but once people start asking questions, because it's intimate and they're right there, we don't have to have microphones, you know, you just start talking, and all of a sudden you're like, well, this is what these people really want to know. You know, I was going to talk 30 minutes on the color wheel, but let's just get right to the heart of this. You know what I mean? And not only do they learn something, but they usually end up respecting the artist a lot more, booking with the artist. It just opens a lot of doors. You know what I mean?
I sat through a lot of seminars in my time too, and you know, some good, some bad. I mean, I try to take all of them as something good no matter what, and you learn anything anywhere. But you know, like that interactive thing was something that kind of didn't happen back in the day. You know, you'd be like, but what about, and they'd be like, shut up, you know? And you were stuck with the PowerPoint, and you just kind of had to go along. And
I think
I think it's awesome that kind of goes out the window quick.
I think it stemmed from like early on, we would do the seminars, and then Riley and I would get up on stage with the other speakers and we do a panel discussion. So we started noticing that the panel discussions became a lot more lively, you know, and a lot more, this is what it's about. So we were kind of like, well, fucking let's scrap everything and let's just make this shit as real as possible. You know what I mean? And I think that really took it to a level, like, I'd love to say that Riley and I are super smart and we planned this, but we were smart enough to just see it organically happen and go, hey, this is the right way to do this, you know?
That's right. Yes.
Authenticity wins in my book every time.
Right. You know, I know, Hip, you've got a story that you've told me, and I hope I'm not saying something too personal, but I know you seeing that podium on the stage was set a little fire inside of you. Would you mind sharing that with our audience?
Are you talking about at the educational?
Yeah, you told me, you know, am I overstepping here?
No, dude, not at all. I just wanted to make sure I was at the right thing, because this is a cool moment for me to like brag and boast, which is fun. But yeah, so, you know, since my journey began in recovery, I found out these things called vision boards, and I've made 3 of them since I've been in recovery, and I've completed everything in the vision board except for one. But I almost compare what we're doing right now to that sort of teaching in a sense. But the first education I went to was in Florida, in Kissimmee, and we had a dinner or a lunch or something, and we were breaking from it, and I pulled Josh aside and asked him if he would come back to the seminar room and get a picture of me behind the pulpit, kind of like with my finger up like I'm pointing or teaching a seminar. And he asked me like, well, what for? And I was like, it's just like a manifestation thing. And like the fact that I actually have you here to take the picture just makes it that much more powerful. And he took that picture, went home, printed it up, threw it on my vision board. And it's just always been there. And just the fact that it was Joshua Carlton that took the picture of me and where I was at. And I was, you know, at a seminar, and there were dudes there that have done seminars like, what was his name? Litwalk?
Jimmy Litwalk, yeah.
Yeah. He's taking the seminar too. And here's a very seasoned fucking new school artist that's been killing the game that is now a student. And I love shit like that, dude. And then the hearts of all the artists, like I got to hear some like dirt from, you know, Liz Cook's past, your past, Mike Chambers' past. Everybody was just gut-wrenchingly honest. Teresa Sharp, like Tevenal, like it just felt good to know that like they're people too, and that shit was so powerful to me that like any technical thing I could have learned didn't really matter now, because what they were doing, they were putting me on the same playing field as they were. And when you do that with someone like me, I can realize that what you're doing is obtainable for me, and it just helps like shed a lot of like limiting beliefs and falsehoods to where now I can stand in my true identity and like go fucking get it.
Yeah. You know, and I think you absolutely nailed it. I think that you just encompassed exactly the night that Riley and I were like, man, could we really do this? And our own vision board just in our minds was to inspire. You know what I mean? You know, so you having that moment tells us that, you know, we always have room to grow, but the Evergreen team is doing what we set out to do. And again, to go back to it, leave tattooing better than you found it. So I appreciate that, brother. I love hearing that story.
Man, you know, it's just so, you guys are so complimentary, dude, because like, you know, for our listeners, those of you who don't know, Riley runs a school that's like it's like state law, I believe, in Oregon to have a license.
You 100% have to go to I think it might be the only state that does that, but it's not like you can just have an apprenticeship. You have to do it through the schools,
right?
Which a lot of people have a negative attitude about, but they don't understand the way that it's ran. You know what I mean? If they would understand the way that it's done professionally, Riley turns way more people away than he lets in. I think because of a bullshit TV show, that people think you can just pay to go to tattoo school for 3 days and whatever. It's not fucking like that.
Right.
These people go to school for a long time. Riley literally wrote the book. You know what I mean? Like physically has a book that he wrote. It's the real shit. You know what I mean? So I just want to put that out there for all.
It's an apprenticeship. You know, the state with the law makes us use the word school, but it's an apprenticeship like any other. You know,
and it's so cool because
tattooing is so weird that you hear that word and all of a sudden all these visions of boogeymen and stuff come up, and you know, people tear you down and talk trash or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's the way it is. You know, it's all controversial or whatever. I try not to let them lump me in with that. I'm like, you know, and it happens though. People come after you. They try to tear you apart for anything. You know.
As soon as they hear the word tattoo school, they just form this opinion, and it's just 100% not the way. Like I said, like I'm impressed with how, because when I first moved here, you know, I didn't know Riley, and I was like, tattoo school, you know, but what, you know, like I said, he turns most people away. It's not a money thing at all. You know what I mean? If it was a money thing, he'd just be filled with students. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's an apprenticeship that you just have to do through the state, basically.
And you know, when I show up there, or Riley knows I'm in town, he's always like, come over to the shop, talk a little bit, which is always very flattering because, you know, I often feel like, what do I have to offer? But he always will sit me down in front of his students and like we'll talk and cut it up, and it's just like what I was just saying, like you guys are so complimentary. So it's like lost dreams awaken. There are things that happen every time I touch feet in Oregon that just always seem like dreams or things that I wasn't even aware that could be possibilities in my life, and I just appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
You know, it's interesting, Hip. Like, I remember bringing you in there and putting you on the spot. I'm like, okay, sit down. Let's talk about tattooing. And I kind of interview you in front of those guys. You know, I know how that feels. It can make you feel kind of strange, but you know, I so appreciate you sharing. You know, like the impacts you're talking about that you got from certain elements of tattooing, or being at shows, or being exposed to certain artists and stuff. Like, I always think of it with these new guys, with new age of tattooing that we're in. You might have been the first person to inspire that guy.
Yeah.
You might be the first exposure of a good artist that's got honor and that's doing the right thing that person has ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's like Joshua does the same thing. Like, he's a tremendous influence on everybody because he's just a good person and he's awesome and he's not a scumbag, you know. But like, it's the same thing, you know. And many times, you know, Joshua's come in and helped me do all kinds of projects and do different things, and it's like interesting how the young apprentice works, you know.
Right.
And I think at some point too, a lot of the guys that I'm training to tattoo, and I've trained half the damn West Coast, it seems like, over all these years, but they don't get it at first because they don't, you know, They don't understand how special that is.
Right.
But I've had many of them come around years later and go like, oh wow, that time that whoever came in and painted with this, I didn't know that was who that was, or wow. And
which is kind of good too, though, like because they can experience something probably a little more authentically that way, So in some ways, it's probably good. Yeah.
It's like we talk about leaving tattooing better than they found it. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I got trained in an old school way, which there was nothing wrong with it. I'm super happy that my mentors that trained me, they did the right thing. But the straight truth was when I learned to tattoo, it was because I could fight and I'd work on the night shift till 4 a.m. and no drunks were going to come in and bully me at the street shop. They didn't care about art. None of us did.
Right. And what's weird about tattooing is, as somebody who wants to push it forward so much, I also really have my foot in that past, and I don't want to lose all of that either. There should be a little bit of magical and a little bit of fear walking into a tattoo shop. Not a fear of like, am I going to get raped? But more like just a fear of, some of that stuff. When you see your first tattoo as a kid, that experience of like the hula girl dancing when he flexes his muscle. Like, I don't want to lose all of that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But like a lot of these new tattooers that are coming up today, these guys are so smart. They're so talented.
Yeah.
Just the equipment that they learn on it and the techniques that they can learn so fast. It blows my mind. Josh, we see these guys they're producing these amazing tattoos. We see them at a show and we're like, wow, where'd this guy come from? How long
you been tattooing? 2 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 3 years. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope there's more of that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I struggled for a long time in tattooing. I still feel like I do. I had to fight really hard to get anywhere I had to get, especially with art. I'm not a naturally talented tattoo artist. I have to fight for everything, and I think part of that was that, maybe I wasn't exposed to that for so long.
Sure.
It wasn't an opportunity.
But your drive overtook that so much. I spoke about it before we started recording, but for those that don't know, Riley is actually a phenomenal oil painter as well. I'm proud to say I think I had a small part to play in that. That's how I met Riley, was actually at a painting class that I was teaching. And it's been pretty phenomenal to watch your rise, Riley. Like a couple of times, you'll pop up a painting and I'm like, Nikki, look at this fucking bird. It's always a bird, by the way.
Always a bird.
I'm like, look at this painting. Like, there's a difference between like when tattoo artists paint, they usually learn from other tattoo artists how to paint. So even if something is really nice, you can kind of tell a tattoo artist painted it. Riley really went into the direction of traditional oil painting, and it looks like a painter painted it, and that's my passion. So I get really geeked out about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh look, Riley made some lost edges on the tail, and this part looks totally unfinished. And I'll text Riley and I'll be like, don't finish that. And he's like, I wasn't gonna. Like, he gets it. He fucking gets it. Because even though he wasn't raised with this, Riley was like, I'm going to learn how to paint. In fact, just to show you his drive, Riley didn't ask me if he could be in my class. He just told me he was coming. And it was actually full. It was booked. And Riley's like, well, I'm here with my shit. And I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? So so in past episodes, Riley, we talk a lot about making it happen.
Yeah.
That day when you knocked on my door and was like, I'm here, you fucking made it happen. If I had said it was full and you were like, oh, it's full, you wouldn't have maybe it would take longer.
Yeah, I would have just pointed at the weaker guy and said, get the fuck out, you're in my spot.
Right. So Riley was like, he made the decision that he was going to do that. Also, that's honestly where Evergreen was born. We started talking about conventions, and not to just go on and on and on, but Evergreen was born from that same exact thing. So I'm not just saying it as your friend. Riley is actually one of my favorite painters. He's got something about his tactileness. There's a big thing that Riley really does where he just will stop. And it's something like, whoa, wow, that's so cool that you felt to stop there. So I appreciate that a lot, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Well, honestly, the only painting experience I have was the 4-hour class with you.
Yeah.
That's the only training I've ever had.
And you went on your own, you know what I mean? You went on with some of the techniques that I taught, and you definitely paint more vibrato than I originally taught, thick brush strokes and stuff like that. So, I know you've been around Tyler Andrews, who's an amazing painter as well. And I can see some of that in your work as well. You know what I mean? So
And Riley actually helped me with my first time. The first time I ever painted with oil was with Riley at that convention where I first met him. And he was telling me the story like he didn't know what the fuck brush size you were talking about, and you'd pull up on him and you'd whisper like, it's the one that looks like a 15 mag. And
what a great way to, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's for, especially for a tattooer, what a great way to share that.
So
you know?
in that convention we did in Colorado Springs, it was more of like a barber convention or midget bowling convention than a tattoo convention. So Riley pulls out these little pastel boards or whatever, and we start painting. And it's funny because I took a picture of my hand and I was like painting it and just like listening to what he was telling me to do. I still got the painting, and I did my thumb, and my thumb looks like there's a dick coming out the side of my hand, but it's memorable, so I still got it. It's actually at the shop. You've seen it before, Matt. I was stoked because it was my first one, and Riley taught me, handed through from Josh teaching him, so that was awesome and a fun little memory.
Yeah, that's how it should be, man.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful who you hand stuff through too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we are all very giving people, and it's like naturally we just want to be like, I'm going to teach the world. And it's like, not every motherfucker deserves this shit.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
What's that?
Not everybody, especially tattooing. Not every motherfucker should be tattooing.
That's right.
That's right.
Don't cast pearls before swine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's funny, Hip, that we were talking about that, because that was when I was starting to figure out different techniques and stuff. And I just remember you watching and going like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I really don't know, but watch, check it out. But what I do know is this, like, I enjoy that stuff. I think of a couple other guys have done that too. Like, when I go to tattoo shows and do them now, I do tattoos, but mostly I paint.
You paint a lot of shows, yeah.
Yeah, and some people get it, some people don't.
The funny thing is you won't book anything, so you can have a free weekend if you want it. But then Riley will start painting, and then all of a sudden he's tattooing birds. Yeah. It's like that sparks everything. Like in Humboldt, I noticed you do a lot of tattooing in Humboldt. You start out with a painting, and then somebody's like, I want a bird. That's cool,
We're great.
So, yeah. Pretty smart, actually.
Pick a subject and study it.
Yeah.
Birds seemed really easy, and I like them, so.
Right.
But something about it, I don't know, makes me feel good. It's strange. Nice. I could probably paint anything, cats or whatever, but that's just what I do.
Right.
Birds
That's
are
awesome.
fun. Birds are fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Free bird.
Free bird, yes, if you will. Yes. Flying candy.
Well, hell yeah. I really appreciate you joining us today, Riley. I think it was nice for our listeners to kind of get a little bit of your backstory. There's a million more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I definitely appreciate it.
I'm deeply honored. You guys are great. It's like, it's great to talk to you guys and be a part of what you're doing. I think it's amazing. I'm flattered. I'm so flattered.
Man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love you, Riley.
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
Yep. For real. Just for all our listeners to cover those dates again, Evergreen Invitational this year is set for October 1st. The educational 2 days before, September 29th and 30th. The way you were describing it, that's very limited seating as well, correct?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
I was
worth
seeing
it.
like, even though you're wanting to keep it, intimate, I mean, do you guys foresee if enough, even if the listeners from today, if you get an influx, have you ever thought about expansion on that? If the demand is high enough? Well,
It's
you can
possible.
think about it.
I wouldn't say no for sure. You know what I mean? It's just again, we just don't want to. We don't want to dilute it. We
That's
really
right.
like the way it works out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if Riley and I wanted to just make a ton of money, we could just take every single motherfucker that you
Right.
know wants in. But you know, that's just never been the whole thing. You know
That's
what I mean?
right. Yeah.
So,
Quality versus
that's
quantity.
the last thing we're worried about is the money like that. But it's true. The educational is a weird one. I always felt that if it was too much going on in there, it would lose the personality that it has. I would never ever want to jeopardize
I
that.
really think so. I think our first one in Hollywood had 100 and.
It
That's
didn't
probably
feel right.
about where I'd want it. Yeah, that was a bit much. Yeah,
There was-
100 people, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what we keep it at now, but it's probably 50, I'm guessing.
I think we keep it between 50 and 60. And, just for disclosure, we kind of cater to evergreen artists. They kind of get first shot at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
previous people that have come. So it's like, once again, that gets very limited really quick. And please don't everybody rush to the website to get on there, because we're not accepting people right now. You'll have to wait for when we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. We don't even know if we can get 60 people in a room right now.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's even an option,
That's right. Yep.
you know.
Okay.
But maybe 2 of you will be lucky enough to go.
Right.
Yeah. Are there any other things going on out there? Any other shows going on out there that anybody's going to that you know of?
Yeah, so Aisle 9 is we're doing a Villain Arts Cincinnati convention next month.
Yeah.
And then that's mid-May, and then I'm flying to Houston to do Villain Arts there. Then I'm guest spotting. That's just a guest spot.
Well,
at a
and
shop.
then Joshua got invited to the Ink Incarnation in Ohio.
Oh yeah, so here in Mansfield, where fucking what's the name of that movie?
Is that at the
Shawshank
prison?
Redemption. Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's at the prison, right?
yeah, and I guess I haven't done it in a couple years because it fell apart. But now it's like, dude, Slipknot's the closer Friday.
Right.
I can't remember.
Rob Zombie. I think.
Rob Zombie's Sunday night is the closer. So like it's some big shit, and you actually, I get to go back into prison and tattoo again.
Fantastic. Well, you don't have
to
to
answer your question. Yeah, Ohio has already got upcoming shows booked. One as soon as next month in Cincinnati. So they're starting to lift, some things in parts of the country for sure.
Yeah.
It's great that things are starting to go on. Out here on the West Coast, COVID has kind of just shut things down, and it's gotten real dismal out here. It's real dicey.
Yeah. We just got back to where we could even sit down at a restaurant, and it's still like not full capacity. So it's been rough.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly out here. And it's good to see that it's starting to wake up around the country and stuff like that. You know,
everybody's.
I just got back to traveling again, and I'm still shocked at different places that I go, around the country or whatever.
Yeah.
Like some places, it's like not like I'm like, wow, it's like nothing's going on here, no COVID at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to get their Fauci ouchies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting to see. I wonder what kind of, I know you guys probably want to go home, but I just had to put it out there. You got me thinking about it. I wonder what kind of ripple effect this is going to have on our industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm super happy that from what I hear, most tattoo shops, when they were able to open back up, have stayed busy. Because I was definitely worried. We've got this ink situation going on with, and then that on top of, we could be in for it. You know what I mean? The fall of Rome. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to see that everybody seems to be busy so far. So. Yeah.
But the supply chains got broken for a while. The price of gloves went through the roof. You couldn't get purple top wipes.
Yeah.
What we got, blues and greens are on the mark now, just like they have in the EU for years. I've been talking about that for years, Josh. Years.
Yeah, Riley actually was talking about that way before, like for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just kind of wonder what the fallout effect is that's going to be. I mean, even right down to the shop that is hanging on, if they're going to make it or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for years with my shop, I mean, it was just like when I grew up, we were a paycheck away from being homeless.
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
And that happens sometimes for years with shops where they struggle.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what that fallout's going to be.
And a lot of folks didn't make it. I was shocked, kind of like you said. 2 weeks into the shutdown, there were shops that were closing, just already closing their doors.
Just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And now we were all shut down, but 2 weeks in, there were shops that were like, we're ruined, we're done. And I remember being like, wow. Like, so talk about 2 paychecks away, not only as an artist, but a shop owner, a whole shop.
Yeah.
You couldn't even make it 2 weeks,
Yeah, Riley and I've got some really good friends that own some extremely high-end shops with crazy rent, and we were immediately worried. But these people are smart people, and they had some stuff put away, and so far so good. You know what I mean? So
Sure. I'll tell you what, even for us, we were shut down. Aisle 9, we were shut down for a little over 2 months, and even though a lot of our guys, all of us were eligible for the assistance and all applied for it, but there was such an influx. They didn't have the infrastructure to actually deliver on that for all of America. So the whole time we were shut down, no one got any assistance or help or anything. Now, luckily, we were all blessed and we were all able to hang in there. But with all the negativity that's been going on in the world, we all know that the world is still full of great people, good fucking people.
Way more good people.
Way more than bad. It's just been that the negative people have been louder recently. That's all, but it's still a small percent. So when our doors open, and I think the hardest part about the shutdown, because any of us can endure something if we're given a finish line. Hang on until this time. But since no one was given a finish line, I think that's what made it extra hard on people, even their mindset. We can't hold out for how long? No one knows, right? But when we were finally able to reopen, this just example, there's good folks everywhere. So we all came back to work. 2 strangers knocked on the back door of the shop. We walk out. It was 2 guys we had never met, never knew before. And it was an organization just down the road that showed up and was like, yo, we just want to let you know, we know that they said you guys were non-essential, but we've been watching you for years, the impact that you and you guys have on this community, and we want to let you know that we see you, and we believe you are essential. And they had a check for every artist on our team with their name on it, attempting to attribute to their own family bills. No strings attached. Couldn't fucking believe it. And so obviously, not only were we grateful, our minds were blown and asking, who are you guy? And it was an organization. It was a new church that had just opened up, so new that they were planning on having their very first Sunday gathering when the shutdown happened. And so this came from an organization, a congregation of people that they themselves had never met in the flesh. All were at home and decided they wanted to bless and give to some local businesses. Guys, we know you're all struggling, but anyone that can give, whatever comes in is going right back out. And for whatever reason, they picked our studio as a local business to bless. No strings attached. Couldn't believe it.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
We're talking each artist and assistant and videographer got a $500 check, and they paid 2 months of our rent.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huge, right? Well, check it. And so we were so blessed, obviously, not only literally helping meet needs, but the gesture alone, right? And so I wanted to somehow, could we fucking give back to these guys? And it's so often, we talked about this in the past, that when you're a giver, when you do something, you're doing it just because you feel led to be a blessing. But it is fun to see the fruit thereof sometimes, or the impact. We don't always get to see the impact, but if you get to see it, isn't that a treat? And so we decided to all shoot videos, a thank you video, and had it edited to send back to them for them to share with everyone that gave and put a face to whose life and family you just touched. Thank you. That was our way of giving back. And so this was months ago. On my way here tonight, one of the head pastors of that church just called me and said, hey, Matt, we want to do something else for you guys and or with you guys. And they gave me a new date for next month. And now they're including us to secretly look for needs that need met, either in our own house still or in our community. And this time it's in the realm of almost like physical labor. If we knew someone that needs help, if it's someone that just got in a wheelchair and they don't have a ramp, and for us to know and for us all to go and fucking build them a ramp one weekend or whatever. And they just called me on the way here so that and I was going to bring it up in the shop meeting tomorrow, so that we now get to look for other needs that need to be met in the community and get to do that. And again, I'm just sharing that with all of you just as proof, that there's fucking people you don't even know. There's good folks out here everywhere.
Hey, Riley.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. The only way to keep what we got is to give it away. Ain't that right?
Man.
Yeah,
right.
It's interesting. When COVID hit, that was a tough time for me. I really had it. I had to struggle. My best friend Joshua just got diagnosed with cancer. I didn't know what was going to happen to him.
Man,
he was out. Evergreen got shut down.
Lost 150 in a day.
Yeah, but this all happened in a week.
Yeah,
Josh got diagnosed. Our show got shut down, and then they shut down our tattoo shops the day after that. Yeah. And you guys know me. You guys have been around me.
And to top
My,
it off, your whole town caught fire.
Yeah, and
Right.
the whole town was on fire on top of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It was literally
but it was
snowing
like,
ash. It was crazy.
Yeah.
you know, the people that I'm fortunate enough to work with, you know, are they're more than artists to me. These are my friends. These are my family, you know, and I love these guys. And to have to stare down the dozen artists that I've got and go like, I'm sorry, we're shut down, you know, good luck. That was terrible. And you guys all know me pretty well. And like, probably the last thing in the world that I'm prepared to do is stop.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't stop ever.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to do that with COVID. I had to stop. I had to stop. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything, you know. I deliver groceries. That's what I did. I was like, I'm not going home. I'm delivering groceries, you know, like I'm doing whatever this job is. But like COVID taught us all a lot about tattooing, about ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was wild. And I took that time and I just kind of stopped and I looked at the market. I called other people that do tattoo shows around the country and was like, how are you doing? What's going on? Or, you know, I just kind of watched the market, if you will, locally and globally. And I'm still watching it because I'm wondering how this all pans out for tattooing in the end. You know, I know how it affected me. I know how it affected us, Joshua and everybody, but like, what's that trickle down effect in our market? How many artists are not going to continue on?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys have like an eviction moratorium in Ohio?
A what?
An eviction moratorium. We have an eviction moratorium here in Oregon, so they can't evict a business or a homeowner because they haven't paid their bills.
I think there maybe was a little of that. I don't know if that's still, you know,
like we still have that. Like if you stop paying rent right now in Oregon, they can't throw you out.
Man.
They can't evict you for not paying rent.
Wow. Okay.
And I wonder how many businesses have had to do that. They've got the doors open and they're working, but they haven't paid rent. They've got 6 months of back rent or 9 months of back rent.
Right.
That could be $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 in some case.
Yeah, right.
Easily.
Yeah.
So I was talking with a friend of mine that has a really high-end shop, a very expensive shop. I mean like, you know, $20,000 a month rent shop.
Wow.
And he was shut down.
Yeah, right.
And this artist went home and the revenue streams. But if it's something I could pass on like that, when they rewrote the lease for the shop, they wrote in a COVID clause. So if this ever happens again, they don't pay rent for those months. It just gets tacked on to the end of their lease and they go on.
Wow.
And that's something that things like that are things that I'm really, really paying attention to right now. Like I don't think I'll ever sign another lease without that being in place for a house or a business or a new location.
Pandemic clause for sure.
Sure. And you know, how many of those act of God clauses have you seen in a contract?
Right.
How many of them paid off? Right.
For sure.
Or your insurance, you know, these are all things that affect all of us, you know, to one degree or another. And I wonder how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Well, in Ohio, are there more commercial properties for lease now?
It's tough. Because in even if there isn't, there's gonna be, because a lot of businesses realize they didn't need the overhead. Everyone's working from home over Zoom, and so there's a prediction of a commercial drop in real estate for sure. Yeah. Which might be a great time for us to expand and get that new studio after all.
Right.
You know?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That could change the tattoo market drastically. Out here, we're already seeing buildings are getting cleared out. They're for lease. Nobody wants them.
That's right.
Nobody can afford to move in them because they're so unsure. You know, is that a time where we need to, where shops should be expanding? Is that the time to get the second location?
Yeah.
Or
well, we could have, but last week we threw all our money in on Bitcoin because Josh told us to, and fuck, man.
Get some Doge there, Josh?
Yeah, no, but you're right, Riley, and we're fucking lucky and blessed. No matter what we've been through, we've been through it. We're still going through, and we're going through it together, man. That's like no other time. That's why even us as the Tattoo Guardians, to lift one another up. You know, in the midst of this, whatever it is, and I'm just thankful. Fuck me, we all came out with some scars, but we're fucking still going.
Hell yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
I like scars. I like getting them. I like giving them.
Man, that's right. Man, they should have
That's-
fucking. Hey, COVID should have came last year. If you want to
Yeah.
stop us, you know.
You think that's dangerous? Watch this.
Yeah, man.
Hold this.
That's right. Hell yeah.
Honestly, it's a funny time, and nothing like this has ever happened, and I'm very interested to see how it does pan out though, and if I think it'll be positive. I hope it'll be positive, but
Yeah.
think of how hungry everybody's going to be when this thing opens back up. Like me and Josh are just dying to do a show. I'm ready to do one tomorrow. We'll just when's Evergreen? Tomorrow, Thursday. That's when Evergreen is.
Yeah.
Like, is that market going to go like that? Is it going to be wild again? Is it going to? Are people going to appreciate tattooing because it went away?
Yeah.
Are they going to be happy to be at a show?
Right.
Yeah.
I think they will be.
Oh,
It could be a good thing.
Oh yeah. Very
I'm watching international shows. They seem to be going off.
Really?
Yeah, left and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're all over the place. Looks like Europe just said we're doing it, and they're just opening up,
Wow.
which I think is cool.
Yeah.
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 And if I'm wrong, it's probably Joshua's fault.
Yeah.
Always.
For sure.
Always
dude.
Joshua's fault. Yeah.
How many years you guys been friends now?
10 years?
About 10 years, yeah.
Cool. So Hip
Yeah,
and I have
yeah.
been brothers for years as well, and we can tell. I mean, Josh speaks so highly of you, Riley, in more ways than
thanks.
one, right? And Hip and I were fucking brothers, right? And the real test, I've got to presume if you've been friends that long that you've had a few times where you guys were fucking at odds.
Sure.
And,
A couple times.
And it's not, so is Hip and I, but the only reason why I still have a friend or a brother to this day isn't because of our perfect track record. It's because along the lines we chose forgiveness.
Sure.
Right. But I'm curious how you guys have overcome any time when you're like, man, fuck that motherfucker.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like, this is no shit. Like, we haven't done that.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't remember any
Yeah,
time where we've
because-
ever yelled at
no.
each other
Yeah.
or treated each
No,
other with
because-
disrespect or
Yeah.
The
called
few
each other a
times-
name even.
The few times that we've had just like disagreements,
Yeah.
it was mostly miscommunication. And Riley and I are extraordinarily good at communication. So when it's brought up, the other person is like, "Oh, I did not even look at it
No, I
like
did-
that." And now that I see that,
Yeah.
I was totally not
Yeah.
being a good friend when I did that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can't even think of once. I remember one time we were at a pool party and I joked with Riley, like, we should totally pretend we're going to fucking fight. And you throw me in the pool. You know what I mean? And Riley was like, oh, that'd be like mom and dad fighting. They don't want to see that. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Right,
you're
right.
right, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say after all these years that I can't think of one time that we've
awesome.
been at odds, to be honest with you.
No.
Normally it's like one of us has a fucking crazy idea and it's like, are you as crazy as me? Are we doing this?
Yeah, right.
And then Aaron or Nikki's like, yeah, you guys are fucking way too crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome.
I think we've had, anytime we've really had a difference, I mean, aside from miscommunication, like I was like, hey man, when you did that, you hurt my feelings. You're like, oh, I had no idea. Or I'm like, oh fuck, did I just do that and say that and hurt your feelings or something?
Yeah.
But anytime we really have had a problem or miscommunication, it was a third party. It was
Oh, yeah,
some
totally,
other
totally.
outside
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
influence that kind of was
Yeah.
making that scenario happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were always conscious enough to understand that really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't mad at each other. I don't ever remember us even raising our voice to each other, even if we were never.
Right. Yeah.
We're just very analytical about it. We're like,
That's
I'm
great.
going north, you go fucking south, and that's
Yeah,
that.
I think there's been times that, like, I know one time you were super fucking mad, not at me, and I was just like, let's fucking leave. Like, come with me, and we're gonna fucking. I'm gonna just listen to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to
I
do
was
shit like that.
super
Like,
pissed.
I just removed Riley from the situation and okay, let's go back in there and I'll fucking stand up with you right there and let's fucking deal with the shit. Right? Riley and I are real big on let's handle shit right fucking now.
Right now. I love
Right.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Nip it in the bud.
That's
yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a phrase that people say when they're becoming aggressive or hostile, where they go, oh, you don't understand. Like, that's a phrase that can get me fired up really fast. Like, and I remember in that specific case where that person did that, and that just set me off. Like you saying that I don't understand, you're trying to say that I'm not capable of comprehending what's going on. I know exactly what the fuck's going on, you know, and I think when you're in trouble is when me and Josh both get upset about the same thing, or we get focused in the same direction.
Yeah, which is definitely that's happened several times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you think, Josh? Fuck this guy. Okay, let's handle this.
Yeah,
right
because
now.
there's been a couple of times where Riley, there'll be a situation at the show, and I have to remind myself as well as Riley, we have security for a reason. We shouldn't have to be dealing with this.
Right.
And so we'll be, we can tell. I can totally tell, because Riley will be like, I'm not gonna let it ruin my day. I'm having fun. I'm sitting here with this artist that I like, and I'm like, cool. And I know 5 more minutes, man. I don't know. It's kind of disrespectful with you. You know what I mean? And it just fucking pretty soon it's like, but we don't. Not to sound like a tough guy, but we just don't handle assholes at our shows.
Yeah, right.
And the funny thing is that I've always been aware of that. And it's just part of putting on a good show. Yeah. But, we've been lucky enough to have some huge giants of the tattoo industry that have been tattooing well before us. Brian Everett graced us at the show when his son was getting tattooed. And we were telling him some stories, and man, the stuff he was saying, you know what I mean? I throw that motherfucker out, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay. So we're cut from the same cloth. We're not going to come into our show that we worked our whole fucking, it's beyond measure how much work we have to put into it, and you're going to come in here and shit on us. Fuck that.
Yep.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, this isn't a hobby. It's just not a lifestyle. This is what we do. This is our life.
Yeah, keep some respect on it for sure.
And honestly, this else happens too. Aaron and Josh will run like parallel in what's going on if something's popping off at a show. Like you and Aaron, Josh, will go like, we're handling this. And me and Nikki will do the same thing. Nikki will be like, check this out, and it's interesting because the wives they can kind of steer that if they,
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it ends up being like the four of us somehow balance each other out really well. Like, Aaron and I, we're like a team. It's like, we'll try to let's just deal with this before Riley even knows about it. We'll come back and tell you, and you're just like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you put that fire out, awesome. And the same thing, like I'll be like, oh, it was a great first day, and I'll come home and Nikki's like, oh yeah, me and Riley were fist fighting somebody in the back. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I had that happen. That happened with me and Nikki. I was like, boy, we got through the day without any problems. She's like, no, Joshua and Aaron.
Wow.
Or this other person, but it's funny because like no matter how much we prep or prepare or mentally prepare,
you just don't know.
You never know. You never know what is going to happen next when you're doing this. Like, and it could be the most obscure. Like you can't. I don't want to talk about too much of it, but like you can't make up the shit that happens, right, Josh? Like, you can't. You can't.
All of it just chalks up to stories, man.
Yeah.
One day, Riley and I will write a book. One day we'll write a book together about all this shit, So.
And it can go from 1 minute at something super kind of real technical, and you don't think that stuff's a big deal, but when you're like, okay, we don't have the chords for this, I don't know where they are. So many things rush through your mind, like, don't we buy one of these every year because we forget it? And I think there's 6 of them in the back of my car or whatever. And then the next minute somebody's crying because their feelings are hurt because they just lost a black and gray competition. Remember that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had to tell a guy that was like 6'5" to call. I'm like, dude, first of all, calm down. You're literally being a baby. So, I mean, you're stomping his feet that he said he had done his life's work on this tattoo, and it was beautiful. But this is Evergreen. The fucking line for the contest is out the goddamn door.
No shit.
Does it mean your tattoo wasn't? His tattoo was actually beautiful. It doesn't mean it's not good.
Great.
There's only one winner though, dog.
That's right.
Yeah. So. That was an emotional moment for me when that happened, because I thought, well, this guy's going to be a problem. No, his feelings were hurt. He was broken.
Yeah.
He'd done the best tattoo he'd ever done in his life and lost, and it hurt his feelings. It hurt my feelings,
And we talked to him, and he understood from our point of view and everything. Wow. It's just, people get real emotional. We've had tattoo artists that have come in from loss, from loss in their life, like actually losing loved ones, and divorces, and come to the Evergreen because they made the promise they'd be there, and then end up winning like these, tattooer, like not like tattoo of the show or whatever, and like just watching their spirits lift. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like how much that meant to them and stuff like that. It's been really rewarding to see the power of what this can do, because it's not just an award. Like, yeah, Nikki and I hand make all the awards, but it's not even really so much about that. Is it's like, just getting this from your peers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like Clemmer, especially, you will understand the fuel that I get from that, all of that. You know what I mean? Like the good and the bad and all the other stuff. Like, that's something that me and Clemmer were right here about. Like, we feed off that shit, good or bad. If it's gonna go bad, well, let's get bad. If it's gonna be good, let's fucking go good. And I can take it all, but it's like, wow, man, you can't create that. You can't. That's all organic.
Yep.
That's all organic. And what experience?
Yes.
For all of the above. I've never seen anything like that. I've done tons of shows, and I've never seen anything like the stuff that goes off.
Wow. Wow.
Weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more and more like cool things like that happening at shows. There's more people trying to do invitationals. There's more people that are turning it up with their education. There's more people that are being a little bit more picky about who comes and who doesn't come. And I think that's so important, dude. Like laying that shit down, and then like you were talking about Hippy, like, man, Hip is killing it. And he hasn't even got close to shining yet, bro. You're just starting out, man. Like, I can see it. Like, I can't wait to see what happens with you. I'll be writing you checks soon, bro.
I will gladly accept that.
Yeah. I think we got a new vision board idea.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Josh, do you have a vision board?
For my vision board purposes only, Riley, I need you to write me a blank check and mail it to me, just so I can put it on my vision board.
Yeah.
If I could write a check, I would.
I don't think I actually have like an actual vision board, but I'm a note taking motherfucker, and I definitely write down shit that I want to manifest for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is that part of a method for you too? To do that?
Yeah. If I write it down physically, it's something happens tactile. That it's like if I just think it, cool. But if I write it down, I'll definitely do it.
Crystallizing it.
Yeah.
I can't write, so I do the mind map thing. Josh, we've done this. I was like, I'll sit down and totally map something out. It just looks like gibberish in drawings. Like, I mean, if you ever watch like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's like Charlie, right?
Charlie.
Right.
It's little pictures of things and arrows and stuff. Right. It totally makes sense to me. But that's my method. I mean, to be honest, I get up every day at 4 a.m, and I go into the office and I sit and I just think about shit, whatever. Then I paint, and then I go to work,
Right.
And it's interesting. Vision board, like maybe I'll do that. It'll probably just have like a big question mark on it with like a dollar bill taped to it.
A bunch of birds.
Is it
a bunch of birds?
Why is baloney taped to the wall?
Yeah, you're like, what is Riley doing?
Some Red Bull.
Yeah, he pinned up a bunch of Red Bull. Yeah.
But the cans are all bitten. The cans are all bitten in half, though.
That's so funny.
That's good.
Well, awesome. I feel like it's been one hell of a show. Yeah. Again, I know our listeners are glad to finally meet you, Riley.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to get Aaron. Love to get Aaron on here one day. We keep talking about getting like the wives on here and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aaron and
should have Aaron on someday. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. They're so smart. I love those ladies. They're amazing. Couldn't do it without them.
Yeah.
They're the backbone of the show.
Absolutely.
I always feel weird because like it seems like me and Aaron, Josh and Nikki, like we do everything together. Yeah. Like I don't do anything without Aaron, anything ever, ever. And it's like I don't know if those ladies get the credit they deserve.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of doing everything together too, like just to kind of show you the trust we have with each other as well. Like Riley will literally be like, he'll want to spend $50 on something for the business, which and he calls me and he's like, hey, before I do this, you cool with this? It's $50, but he's still 7-8 years later. Still we do that.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because somehow we talk a lot about communication on this podcast, and we just had it since day one. I don't know.
It's
Riley,
always
to not make too long of a story here, but Riley, Evergreen was his idea, and I didn't know Riley, so in my brain I was like, I'm not gonna fucking start a giant company with this guy I've just met. Well, he shows up the next day with a proposal, like the really good proposal, you know what I mean? And it was so well put together and organized. So Nikki and I just said, we'll go to breakfast. We'll go have a breakfast to keep your game face on. We don't know these people.
That's right.
We've been in bad deals in the past. Let's not do that.
Right.
But I mean, they had everything figured out. And it was kind of like, even if we lose, we win. At minimal, we won't make money, but we'll put on a good show, better for tattooing.
Wow.
We, a little bit of luck, but I think because of our hard work, Evergreen became wonderful. It's my baby. No matter how many businesses I do, Evergreen is like my main, like that's my baby. You know what I mean? So, but you know what I mean? Like that's kind of that tenacity of making it happen. He not only showed up to the painting seminar, and in the future Riley became a great painter, on his own will. But he also took that idea and didn't just kind of bullshit it. And for years, he could have been like, yeah, me and Josh are going to put a show on one day. The next morning, he was on the porch of the shop. So that tells you a lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's who I want to work with.
Right.
Because if that guy tells me he's going to do something, he's going to fucking do it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Man.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate that so much. Like, I know you've had bad business deals. I've had bad business deals, but it's like from day one, it was so like-minded. Like I never thought of it as that $50 being anything than half yours and half mine, and that's just the way it is. But it's like, I wouldn't even know how to spend the money now. You know what I mean? Like, if I was buying a hot dog, I'd call you. Like, But you and I are so funny about how we do that. Like, we don't, like, a lot of people go and have, like, do different things with the company. Like, we just don't. Like,
no.
We just don't.
Just not interested. Yeah.
I'm just not interested in doing that. It's just like, and you talk about Evergreen being your baby and stuff, and I'm like, I totally understand. Like all the different companies and different things that I do, that's something else. It's something special. But
yeah, it's its own thing. Like I might be putting out an album, or if I start a clothing line, or even my own shop. But it's like, what is your business? It's Evergreen.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Some of the things that like I think of some of the funny business decisions that we've made that were like no brainers for us.
Right.
That may have like destroyed a company or a partnership.
Sure.
Like the Orlando show, I think we spent an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah.
And we had a 40-second conversation about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I are real good on like, we're like, it's going to cost us this much. Okay.
Okay, that's a good idea.
I remember saying, as long as they keep printing it, I'll keep making it.
right. But it was like a big deal.
I was willing to lose to gamble that. Yeah.
Well, it was like, I think it was lunch. It was like, okay, it's $6,000 a day for lunch. I was like, that sounds good. You're good with that, Josh? Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, fuck it. Done. No shit.
People don't
I'm not
realize
shitting,
how much it costs to cake. Yeah, people that want to put on shows, they don't realize like the pipe and drape. Oh my God. Holy fuck.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it those kind of things are things with other partners I've had in the past and stuff. Those would have destroyed. They would have been like, no way. There's got to be a, I didn't even think about it. It's like, and even the simplest of things, like in our company, like we had to buy a projector one time. I think of some of the other companies I've been with and stuff, that would have been a big deal. It would have taken like a conversation and a vote and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. I'm like, hey, just go buy the best one, dude. I'm cool with that. Yeah. Awesome. Like, I don't care what you buy for the company, just as long as it's the best one. It's the right tool for the job,
Come on. Man,
but on the other hand, I think it's sometimes where we've had some differences and they were over the stupidest shit, Josh.
Right.
Like, what color's that? Oh, no.
Right. Yeah.
No way. You just flush the whole company down the drain. Just forget it. It's over. It is over. I've been there. Like,
it's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. What do you mean we're having burritos for lunch?
Right.
Are you crazy?
Man, and just those little touches that you're talking about. You may be spending a little bit more money, like, for lunch every day, the $6,000 versus, saving 4 stacks or 3 stacks, but the investment and the return on that investment is priceless.
Yep.
And it's far more a better and bigger gain and impact.
That's right.
Like Matt'll spend fucking $200 every 2 weeks on fresh flowers at the shop. We do not need those, but it's because of the investment and the impact that it has when people walk in and see that. So it plays a bigger role in longer down the road.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how the little things aren't ever really little?
Exactly.
That's the way I see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are no little
I think
things.
it's okay.
That's right.
It's not only okay, but it's important to have that long-term goal. You know what I mean? Yeah, we might not be feeling this right now, but I have this vision of what this could be. You know what I mean? And these are the pieces of the puzzle we need to use now.
Yeah.
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 That's great.
The devil is in the details like that. It really, really is.
You said it.
And super is. Don't get me wrong. We didn't buy $6,000 lunch for us, though. That was
Right. Well, I
we
remember
bought
that.
everybody else lunch, I think. Right?
That's right.
And the food is always good. It's always good. I love the VIP rooms, dude. Fucking love them.
You know what I love is the artists that, even though we put it in their paperwork, we told them when they signed up, on the last day, they're like, "What's this room?" And I'm like, "Dog, that's for you. There's fucking beautiful. Are you serious?" I'm like, "You could have went in there, made your stencils in private. It's all fucking closed off." And they're like, "I told you 5 times."
We announced
I'm
it.
like, "Oh, did you get lunch yet?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, you get the other guys. They come in and they're like, "Where's the coffee?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a funny one. I
Really
ran across
exciting.
the lady that sets that up in the morning for us, Joshua, at the store.
Yeah. Nice.
And she was so upset. Like, she was like, "When's everybody coming? When are all the artists coming?" She starts naming guys, and
wow.
she made all these friends with people that she waits her whole year. She was like, "I was going to quit that job, but I want to wait for the show."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I love that stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I can't say enough how Josh has been a huge influence on me, and she's just such a great friend. I'm so glad that he's here. Like I said, my heart sank when Josh got ill. That just was tough, and it was like, damn, and like I said, I'm a funny friend, so I don't offer a lot of sympathy. I'd be like, "Hey, excuse me, you got cancer on my shirt," or whatever. I'm pretty rough around the edges, and I'm glad that Josh, saw through that. But I can't say enough how glad I am that you're with us, Josh, and
I appreciate
you
it.
inspire a lot of people.
Fuck yeah.
And I wouldn't be here without you for sure.
Yeah.
For
Thanks.
many reasons, not just the tattoo business reason, just like you said, when it comes to me talking to people about things that I feel weak about, I call Josh because I can talk to him and he understands, and we've been there.
Yeah,
and
for sure, we've been there.
I'm glad that you're doing this podcast. I think it's awesome. I think it's fucking great, and you got the right guys, man. Hip and Clem, those guys, you guys are awesome too, man. Like,
I'm super excited. I did a Zoom seminar with him, and I was like, something's here. I think we should consider a podcast, and this was born from that. And we adapted because of COVID, which made the Zoom seminars happen. So kind of a lot of this was birthed from COVID.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So some good things are coming out of it. So we're hoping you listeners like this as much as we like doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I came across Tattoo Guardians. I don't do Facebook or social stuff or any kind of digital thing very much at all. And I came across it and I listened to what you guys are, talking about, rapping. I'm loving it, and like you guys probably figured out, like I don't type many words either. I just send pictures of cats or a Ferris wheel or something
Ray
bizarre to
Liotta.
kind of express how I'm feeling about what you said.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah, Ray Liotta, or yeah. And I think I actually have said some words. I think I have actually been like, "Good job," or "Awesome," or something.
It's funny, Riley, that you're saying this because we actually brought this up recently. That actually meant a lot to Matt that you actually said some actual words because that does carry a lot of weight.
It's true. Like I don't usually comment or even speak about stuff like that. I'm very reserved in weird ways.
Right.
I think if you went back through me and Joshua's feed and you went like this, you could make about 3 skulls, and I bet you'd be 2 years back. I just don't communicate digitally very well at all.
Wow.
At all.
Yeah.
And I keep myself private like that. But I'm watching like a hawk, you know, and I'm seeing how it's influencing other people. And I fucking love it. I think it's great.
Thank you, brother.
You know, watch out for the chicken hawks coming after you. That's next. The second you guys get doing good, somebody's gonna have to try to hurt you, but pass them on by.
Yeah, brother.
You know.
Thank you. Yes.
What's next for the Guardians? What are you gonna do?
My goodness. And are you talking about our group, or are you talking about this podcast?
I'm talking about the group. I'm talking with what you're doing there, Clemmer.
Oh, man. It's from my heart of service. You know, I got Brother Hip next to me. We got Brother Carlton. We've already been touching on, you know, the vision and, you know, kind of what I think it's the only post you did write words on, which, man, it really did bless me. You know, my heart is to help tattooers in their business with learning all the things that maybe a lot of us didn't, you know, when we were trained how to use a mag and a liner, but we weren't trained on how to talk to you. We weren't really trained on how to put proper value on ourselves. This whole thing called communication, A to Z, the business end of it is so important. And, you know, so many artists have a weird emotional connection with this thing called money and all, you know, so there's so much entailed. And I realized it early on. And it's our heart to try and help as many artists across the globe really grow in their own identity and what that looks like in their own life, which, you know, trickles over into their families, everything. And there's discrepancies across the board. So just to have the courage to go out there and start serving other brothers despite what other dudes' opinions are. So it's been a vulnerable thing. You know, I have an online coaching program called Tattoo Business Mastery, and I'm offering that again. So that's immediately what you're going to be seeing because we just launched it over the next 2 weeks. That's what you're going to be seeing. And kind of like you guys, we're selective about who we allow in that educational classrooms, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm taking it.
Yes, Brother Joshua's on board. Man, and it's a special thing. Talk about like kind of like your educational where it's a room. Like I'm capping at only 33 students, so it's real intimate. And man, other than we meet weekly over Zoom, it's face-to-face teaching and then coaching. We open it up for Q&A, which turns into live one-on-one coaching. But all the guys that may have a question, the one brother that's got the courage to even ask the question, others get freed up in the listening of others. Relationships that wouldn't have been created otherwise start to happen by the end of the program. I mean, everyone's a new family. We've gotten real together. We've gotten raw together. We've gotten vulnerable together. And we are going through it and growing through it together, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a real beautiful thing. And I'm honored to get to be a part of it, man. And I created originally the Guardians group during COVID because all of us were so disconnected and didn't even know what's happening next. Even like you said, you're calling other brothers trying to watch the market. Well, no one fucking knows, you know?
Right.
And so I originally created it just for a place for us to even like kind of hold each other, even if we're on a fucking crazy ride, and to hang on to you hang on to me and be like, don't you give up yet. Don't you give up ever.
Right.
We're going to make this. So that's why it was created. And now it's just evolved into where we're at now. Where are you trying to go? How can we best support you in that?
That's great.
Nice.
And the range of artists doing is from new artists to experienced artists and all comers, huh?
Yes. And so it becomes like a nice mastermind because, everyone will get to share. The brothers that are taking it this round, they're extra lucky because brothers like Joshua Carlton are on board. You know, yes, they're going to learn from me, but they're going to learn from Joshua. Iron sharpens iron. So I'm real excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and so you comment. Thank you, because that's the words you commented, you know, because he's always throwing memes up. And I was asking brothers, like, what's this mean? You know, and they're like, oh, that's just.
I'm like, nah, that's what he does.
He's like, that's just Riley, man. I'm like, cool, you know. But you actually wrote last week, man. I love what you're doing, and you know, if there's any way I can help you, I will. And dude, that fucking meant a lot.
Yeah, let me know. You know,
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. And it's funny, like the pictures I send, those aren't like random memes. Like I have like a photo album of pictures that I collect that I have to go back into and dig it out.
Dude, knowing you, some on some level, that meme was thought out. I'm just trying to track you. Like, where's it coming from?
I was gonna say, I bet Hippy and Josh can do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll send a picture. I'll be like,
yeah.
oh, that means this. Yeah.
Love it.
You know why I do that? Do you guys? Josh knows why I do that. Do you guys know why I do that? I couldn't read until I was like 16 years old.
Oh wow.
I'm so dyslexic they couldn't teach me to read. So I learned to read by reading Braille.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. I learned to read by reading Braille, and then I transfixed the Braille words to how a word looks. So I can't write very well. So when I write, people, even though I've been sober 9 years, when I text you and write you, people think I'm drunk because it's spelled so fucked up, you know. So that's why I send pictures.
Love it, dude.
Yeah. So it's like I'm not illiterate, but I can't write very well, and I can't communicate that way. So I have to do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll try to write you something. It'll look like I'm drunk.
Okay.
Like I think all I did is write, you know, like in that post where I went like, you know, hey, if there's anything I can do to help.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I bet you that took me a minute
Wow.
or maybe a minute and a half to do that.
Dude.
Yeah. Just to write that and get it right and have someone proof check it. Josh has watched me like try to type the simplest shit, and it hasn't been possible.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even more special.
But you guys can all read.
Right.
I don't know if I
Kinda.
trust you.
Kinda.
Ooh, I'm smart. I've got my colors.
Look at me knowing what Curious George is doing.
Exactly.
Green eggs and ham.
Yeah, that's right. Nah, it says there's 3 pigs, dumb fuck.
That's funny.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah, I think
Good
we need
stuff.
to get around to O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you guys want.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
man.
Yeah. Happy day.
We
Whatever you
appreciate
need.
you joining
We
us.
should do that. Anytime you want. I'm down. I'm ready.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
man.
thanks for serving us from your table today, man.
Guys, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Riley.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Hip, Josh, you want to close us out tonight?
I started it.
Yeah.
God, grant me the serenity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
can,
the most he was able to read of that prayer.
Who's chairing this thing? Anyway, yeah.
Woo!
man. Yeah, good show, guys. And Riley, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I look forward to being at Evergreen this year and seeing you and your lovely wife and hanging out. And yeah, man, another good show, guys. Thanks.
Yes.
Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for tuning
Until
in.
next time.
Till next time.